My boyfriend refused to pay me back. Now I'm ready to tear him down. So, I've been dating my boyfriend for almost 4 years. During that time, I have paid for practically everything. He was in school finishing his degree, while I already had the house, the cars, and a full-time job. To really understand the differences between us and why this conversation matters, I need to give some backstory. By the way, this comes from user Junior Reality 1314, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit. I'm Keon.
I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
I've had 1 or 2 jobs almost every day since I was 14. In college, I worked 2 jobs while carrying a full course load, about 8 classes a semester, and I graduated debt-free. I've always worked hard at every job I've had. After graduating, I worked in my field for a year, but after nearly a year of isolation, I moved back home. I took a different job, not related to my degree, but the money was great. I hated the company with a passion, but I stuck it out and saved. By 30, I had over $42,000 in my 401k, my own house, paid off cars, and financial stability. I recently left that job for my mental and physical health, and now I work in my degree field at a job that pays less, but brings me much more happiness. Everything I own, I worked incredibly hard for. Now, my boyfriend. He graduated in May 2025. During school, he usually had only 3 or 4 classes, mostly online. Part of this was because of the vid, and part because his degree is in technology. Still, in the 4 years we've been together, he's been through 6 different jobs. He couldn't handle both 4 classes and a part-time job, and the only side work he occasionally did was DoorDash, when he felt like it. Most of the time, he was online, either in class or playing video games. I don't hate gaming. I'm an avid gamer myself, but watching him sit at a computer for 18 hours a day while I worked 10-hour shifts at a job I hated built a lot of resentment. Now it's a 6 to 7 hour shift for 12 to 18 days straight, before 2 days off. Then, during the summer, we would sometimes have a full-time job, but it only lasted for about 2 months. On top of that, he accumulated debt through credit cards. One even went to court, which he ignored, saying he'd paid it back when he could. That rubs me the wrong way, especially now that he also has student loans. These debts are a few thousand combined, no more than $6,000, I think. And then there's the money he owes me. When he first moved in, he promised to help with rent and bills. After 3 months of him not paying, I started keeping track of what he owed me. Not little things like coffee, but bigger expenses. Things like half of a rental car he swore he'd cover, the dog he begged me to get, his vices, the car I bought for him to drive. You bought this man a car?
Oh, no.
And a dog? Vacations and tuition. That's a wild list to be like, you owe me, like, this is what you owe me. At one point, he couldn't afford tuition, and his grandmother gave him $4,000. I gave him another $1,000. That's crazy. Another $1,000 so he could finish his last semester. Altogether, he owes me over $35,000. Around $25,000 of that is the rent he promised me, which was about $650 a month for 4 years.
Oh my God, man didn't pay you rent for 4 years?
OP.
No.
What are you doing?
Oh, no, that is way too long to let him do that. No.
I didn't keep track to screw him over. I just knew I would forget otherwise, and he promised me he would pay me back. When he went 10 more years?
That's so crazy.
Double it and give it to the next person, it seems. In fact, for the past 2 years, I've left things off the list that he said he'd repay, but never did. And yes, I did include credits for the few times I owed him money. At one point, when things got tight, we agreed that once he got a good-paying job, he'd cover for the mortgage for however long it took to make things even for the rent he owed, and he'd pay me back for the rest as we went along. He also once suggested buying me a brand new expensive car to make up for everything. But I don't need or want that. As of now, he still doesn't have a job in his field or his CDL license. He works about 12 hours a week at one part-time job and hasn't started the other job he's supposedly been hired for because they're just not communicating. Recently, he suggested getting a joint bank account. No, don't do that. Getting a joint bank account where he could deposit money, but only I could withdraw. That conversation brought us back to what he owes me. His logic is, I'm going to take care of you like I promised. And if it was you who owed me, I wouldn't make you pay me back, babe. My logic is, he promised to pay me back, and I value keeping promises. He doesn't. For example, once he swore on his dad's ashes that he'd do the dishes and never did.
Ew.
Who even does that?
Oh my God. Oh, I would leave anyone who did that on principle.
If that man can say that with his chest, that I'm gonna do the dishes, a normal chore on his dad's ashes.
No, you don't understand. I'm actually just talking about the ashtray. My dad is alive. I'm talking about the contents of his ashtray.
That
my
is
dad.
insane.
My dad's at work right now. He just rips darts all day.
So, am I the a-hole for expecting him to pay me back? I don't care if it's $200 a month or a lump sum one day, but I feel like he expects me just to forget the $35,000 and trust vague promises of a better life later, even though he has a hard time keeping small promises, let alone big ones.
Yeah, dude. Come on. What, were you born yesterday? He can't even keep his promise to do the dishes, but he wants you to believe he can keep his promise that he's going to give you the best life ever. What? Give me the plan. Where's the game plan for that?
He doesn't even think he needs to pay his grandmother back for the $4,000 she gave him because I'm the only grandkid who's never asked her for money before. That's still $4,000, my guy.
Dang, man. What a scumbag
This guy's a
way to think.
scumbag. Any advice on how to navigate this situation would be really appreciated. He's already asked my dad if he could propose someday, and my dad said yes. So, am I the a-hole for wanting my boyfriend to actually pay me back?
Oh,
and we
my
have
God.
an update.
You're the a-hole for even... Look,
The
it's been
fact,
going on for 4 years.
and it's not like if it was like a payment plan or like $1,000 or maybe $5,000, maybe $10,000, but like over the 4 years. And like, okay, if as long as we have a payment plan of like getting something back, come on, OP, come on, you use your head. That's crazy.
He can't be that good in bed. There's no way. There's no way.
You're not being fair to yourself. That's crazy. You're practically his bank.
You are partially facilitating this behavior. This is something that needed to be after he didn't pay you rent for 1 year and hadn't gotten a job. And and again, the stipulation was, I will pay you this rent. I just can't pay you right now. It's like, well, a year is a long time. 4 years is a very long time.
And you've only heard promises on promises that he's going to pay you back, but from what we have read, he has not paid you a single cent. I know you said we're going to wait for him to do this, but you're just waiting. Is that what you want? It's just to be waiting and you don't know? That's crazy.
Yeah.
We have an update. He's got 2 job interviews today. One in his degree field and another one with his CDL. Both would actually pay more than my current job. So, fingers crossed. Relationship-wise, things have been rocky. Since he's home all the time, I expect him to do chores because that's what I do. But he's not me. I can't expect him to have my work ethic. Thanks for that one, Dad. He is improving, though, starting to take care of himself more, doing chores without being asked, and we've started doing one unplugged date day a week. We had one last night. As for how he treats me, he basically worships the ground I walk on. He should. He better.
Yeah, that's at that point, it's a survival instinct to do that.
His friends even tell me I'm the best thing to ever happen to him. No crap. Guys, I got the infinite money glitch. She pays for everything I asked for. I haven't paid her a single cent. The best thing has ever happened to me. She bought me a puppy, bought me a car. I live rent-free. He's super affectionate, even though I'm not good at handling affection myself, and constantly tries to tell me how beautiful, funny, and amazing I am. even though I'm not. You are. Now, me. That's a different story. I didn't say this in my last post because no one likes laying their flaws out, but here we go. I've got depression. I forget chores I say I'll do. I assume the worst from people. We literally fought last night because I thought he was being condescending when he was just joking. I've got struggles with booze sometimes, which has caused anxiety issues. I people please until I burn myself out. I put myself last on my to-do list. And I'm not some hot catch. I'm overweight, 170 at 5'5", unhealthy, maybe a 6 out of 10 on looks, and some days I don't even brush my hair because it feels like too much effort. I'm not saying this for pity. I'm saying it because he puts up with a lot from me. We've had some really difficult times together, and he's been supportive through my struggles. He's stuck by me when I've been at my worst. So when people say I can do better, I'm not so sure about that. That said, we're having a serious money talk this week. My plan, he covers the mortgage by giving the money to me. His name is not going to on my house to make up for missed rent. And he pays me back what he promised. I don't want gifts. I don't want him to have all the bills in his name. I don't want a joint account. I just want him to prove I can trust him financially again.
But it's like, should you have you never should have trusted him financially.
Yeah. If he fights me on it, fine. I'm not putting any bills in his name until I know he's reliable. And by the way, I know I can rely on you guys by listening to full episodes with stories just like this one, by going to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and searching OK Storytime. A little bit left. OP, you're defending this. You're defending his actions. You're coddling him when you know it's not right. You're not being fair to yourself. And I think, again, with everything what you said, obviously, I don't know your relationship, but again, it's if the money keeps coming, I'm going to keep kissing the ground she's walking on. I'm going to keep telling her things that she wants to hear. But he hasn't done, it seems like his actions speak louder than words. What has he really done? Other than, like, saying things. And yes, words of affirmation are great, but
they have to be backed up by actions at some point. It can't just be words only for 4 years. Can't do that.
Opie says, and if we break up, I've documented every single expense and stored it in multiple places. Good on you. My contingency plan is clear. The car gets put in his name after he pays me for it, which he wants to do anyway. We will notarize paperwork for what he owes, and I have a way to handle the situation if needed. I may sometimes be too trusting, but I always prepare for different outcomes. His family has been supportive of our relationship, and they respect me. And honestly, he wouldn't fight me if I ended it.
I doubt that. I feel like you say that now, but I'm sure he, in the moment, might try to play it cool, being like, she'll come back. But as soon as he realizes that you're actually over, he will crawl and beg and cry and plead and say, no, I promise I'll get 3 jobs. I'll get 5 jobs. Come on.
Yeah. I was clear from the start about my expectations regarding financial responsibility. It's been 4 years. So yeah, he needs to step up financially, and I need to work on some of my own issues. Depending on how our talk goes, if he lands one of these jobs and actually starts acting like an adult with money, maybe, just maybe, we've got a shot. If not, I'll handle whatever comes next because I've made sure I'm protected. So, it seems like OP does have a plan for if things do go south, which is good.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have never allowed this to happen in the first place, kind of thing. But since you are at this crossroads of does he get a job, we'll have to see if he does pay.
Yeah.
And if he does, if he doesn't, not good for him, but at least you have, you've only supported yourself and you know how to support yourself. You've done this all by yourself. Yeah. You know what you're doing.
I feel like a lot of this could be on this guy is weaponizing. He knows how much OP cares about him and is weaponizing that fact so that she'll just keep going. And it's like, oh, just around the corner. It's just around the corner. It's just around the corner. Now it's been 4 years, and now you're doing the little sunk cost fallacy dance in your head. Being like, well, now it's been so long. If I leave him, then it's like, well, then it's a waste and we got to fix it and I got to this and that. And it's like, it feels like he probably had the wherewithal to know that that's where that was going to end up. My boyfriend put hidden cameras in the house after learning about my past.
That's kind of gross, my guy, and I don't like that. It's pretty illegal.
Very icky. Trigger warning here as well for emotional abuse. I, 30 female, have been with my boyfriend, 30 male, let's call him Jay, for almost a year. We were born and raised around each other throughout our childhood, but never actually met until recently. By the way, this comes from user Blue Sunny Goddess, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit where we got this one. We connected through social media while I was in a previous relationship. We established a friendship and talked occasionally for a couple years. After I separated from my previous relationship and moved back to my hometown, we started talking again and reconnecting. We spent more and more time talking or video calling and began planning around moving in together as roommates, though nothing was concrete. After a year of friendship, I started developing feelings for him. He finally told me he was in a 4-year relationship, but that it wasn't going to last much longer because of problems. I was disappointed and hurt, feeling like I was being played. Good instincts, I think. I told him he needed time to figure things out and that I was going to give him space. I decided to continue my life, save money, and once I had enough saved, moved to a different state. Another year passed, and during that time, I dated someone else. Let's call him Chris, 28 male, but was still in occasional contact with Jay. Jay told me he was single and struggling financially after the breakup. He asked if I was still up for being roommates like we'd planned before. So, at that point, I was already planning to move to another state with a friend. I asked Chris if he wanted to move with me to try building something more serious, but he said he didn't want to move far from his parents. Since my friend ended up moving with her new boyfriend instead, I decided to leave everything behind. My car and my secure job. I cut off things with Chris and moved in with Jay as his roommate. A couple of months went by, and Jay and I started a relationship. Everything was good. The spicy sleep was great, and our connection and chemistry were incredible. After a few months like this, one night while we were drinking, we started talking about previous experiences and quote-unquote body counts.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Lord.
I have a feeling
Woo-hoo.
he's going to be a little insecure here.
I'm an open book and have always been honest about my past, so I responded with total transparency to all of his questions. I thought I was doing the right thing by being open and honest with him. Jay didn't say anything then, but over the next couple of weeks, I noticed a change in him. When I asked about it, Jay said he was thinking about stuff, but everything was all right. Until one night, he said we needed to talk. Jay told me he'd been struggling because of the way I'd chosen to live my life. I asked him to explain, and he said that while he was working, being alone and struggling with depression, I was being, quote, young and wild. According to his beliefs and the way he was raised, I wasn't a woman worth building a life with. Girl, he's trying to tell you you're for the streets. Leave him immediately. This didn't give me much sense of security or stability, so I asked if he wanted to break things off. Jay responded that he wants to be with me, knows he shouldn't be with me, but would go against all of it and give us a try. Leave him. Because a body count is not something to be ashamed of. Him saying, oh, I had to work and I have depression, in no way justifies his thinking that you are lesser than him over the way that you've lived your life.
And you did the right thing. You were completely honest and transparent, which should be in a relationship, unless if your partner says, you know what, that's your past, I don't want to hear it, I'm happy with us now, but sounds like everything was on the table and everything was open book. And he's upset that he read the book.
After that night, Jay started to change. Our spicy sleep wasn't as frequent, he wasn't as attentive, and he would close himself in a bubble and not talk to me for days because he was, quote, in his head and thinking. All of this brought me insecurities. I contacted Chris and started talking to him again. I know I was wrong to keep an open door for Chris while in a relationship, but Chris always made me feel good about myself and loved me unconditionally. Chris had actually tried to propose to me after I moved, but I declined. I really wanted our relationship to work at some point, but Chris was too inexperienced and our goals weren't aligned. Plus, I was already starting something with Jay. Jay and I started having arguments about why he wouldn't talk to me and acted completely cold and indifferent. If you're starting a relationship with like Chris, your ex, who was going to propose to you, you are now in the wrong. You need to be out of this relationship. You need to say, this is not for me. This is not working. I know it's going to be hard because you're roommates and you live together. This guy is telling you he thinks you're trash. You don't need to stay with a guy who does that to you. Jay said I needed to give him space and that this would happen from time to time and that he'd return to normal after he finished struggling with his thoughts. One day, Jay and I had an argument about something stupid before work. He took the car and told me I had to take an Uber to work. I didn't have enough money for it, so I texted Chris asking to borrow money for the ride, but I changed my mind and deleted the message before Chris could read it, then started preparing for work. Jay had called me multiple times, but I didn't notice. Jay came home mid-shift and took my phone, giving me his instead. And this is where everything went south. Jay saw that Chris had responded to the deleted message and started a conversation with Chris pretending to be me to get information. Then he called Chris, told him lies, and manipulated him into sending screenshots of our conversations. While doing this, Jay texted me that I was done and that once I got off work, I needed to pack and get out. We had a long argument and talked things through. I explained to Jay that his feelings about my past gave me insecurities and made me look for validation from someone else. I know it was wrong. I accept my mistakes and bad choices. I understand I broke Jay's trust and hurt him. I told him he couldn't understand how insecure his judgment towards my past made me feel, and that I had never asked about or judged him for his past relationships or his body count. That night, Jay said he needed time to think and decide what would happen to our relationship. The next day, Jay said that a woman who has had more than 5 partners isn't worth marrying or taking seriously because a lock that opens too many keys is worthless, but a key that opens many locks is called a master key.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
What a red pill thing to say.
Sorry. Dude, that mentality, that little mindset mentality is crazy.
Okay, now you just have a principle and you should stand on it.
Yeah, dude.
How many partners do you have, though? The fact that he then turns around and says, but men are allowed to have unlimited partners because we're actually just really good at banging.
Don't turn this around on.
Yeah.
Nah, dude.
Even though he believed that, the master lock analogy, he made a list of requests for me to prove I wanted to be with him. Delete all people from social media unless they're blood relatives. Point number 2. Block my best friend, 30 female, from social media and phone without any warning and never speak to her again? Point number 3. Call my mom. Tell her everything that happened, my body count, and childhood trauma that I'd kept to myself for years. All right, we just know this is a troll, right? He's trolling you at this point, right?
No, I think he's serious.
Ooh, OP.
Because he probably numbered it.
If you are still with this man, I need you to gather your things right now and leave. Number 4, call Chris, the ex-boyfriend, and his parents to apologize for using him. Call Jay's mom and apologize for what I did. Get some of my tattoos erased. When you're with somebody and it's like you want to change or like make changes to yourself like for the better or whatever, it's like that's okay. It's like sometimes when you're with somebody, like you have a feeling you're like, I do want to change because I want to be a better version of myself for this person. but like that comes from within you, not from them being like, yeah, here's a list of all the things that about you that disgust me and I'm ashamed about. And like, let's work on you overcoming that so I can look past it. That is not the right way to grow and or change in a relationship.
Yeah, OP, I hope you saw that list and you just scoffed and said, "You're insane. I think you need to get checked, my guy."
Yeah. So he also put hidden cameras inside the house and said I wasn't allowed to be in the house if he wasn't home. This guy's a psycho. He took all the house keys, so I had to wait in the car for hours if he was at work and I wasn't. If I wasn't working that day, I'd have to sit in the parking lot waiting for him to get off work so I could enter the house. Jay's reasoning was that in the beginning of our relationship, I had everything handed to me, but he had to make a sacrifice and ignore his beliefs to be with me. Now, because of what I did, I had to earn his trust and sacrifice something too to prove I wanted a relationship with him. All of this brought back feelings and personal trauma I'd put in the back of my mind and ignored for years. I've been struggling emotionally because of this. My confidence and self-esteem are gone. I feel like my relationship with my mother changed after I was coerced into opening up about my childhood trauma.
No way, so she did call.
No. I don't have my best friend to talk to anymore. I don't have any friends. I don't leave the house except to work. The only person I can talk to is Jay, but he doesn't understand my point of view. I am not my past, and people can change if they really want to. I just wish Jay understood this too.
And he's not ever going to. OP, no. You heard that list, and you were like, that sounds reasonable. No.
I did all of his requests except the tattoo removal because that's not something I can do in one day. Little by little, I've tried my hardest to show Jay I want us to work. And by the way, you can always work on listening to more full episodes with stories like this on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search OK Storytime, and you can listen to over 72 days worth of stories. Let's just continue on. We all know how we're feeling. OP, leave this man. If you're watching this, which I hope you are, get out of here.
Please get somewhere safe. Get away from this man as far as possible. Get some therapy for sure, because get back your friends.
Whew.
Yeah.
A few months have passed since this, and now Jay says that since our lease is up in a couple months, we have the choice of renewing for a year or not renewing and moving elsewhere. Jay also said he's thinking he might want to start living his life the way he wants it, and he knows I won't like that. We can share the house for a year while he helps out, and I get a car and secure a higher paying job. Then after the year is up, I keep the place, and he moves out to live his life. Or once this lease is up, we can go our separate ways. To be honest, I want to try and make things work with Jay, but I don't know if he'll be able to move on and not hold my past over my head. I know I did things wrong. You didn't do things wrong. You did things different. But I've shown him I want to be with him and want to make things work. I need advice. Should I stay and keep trying with Jay, or should I choose myself, be done with this relationship, and try to build confidence and self-esteem? Girl, you know exactly which one you should pick. You know it. That's why it was 5 times longer than the first option.
You know the answer. The fact that you adhered to all those demands is jaw-dropping. You didn't need to do any of that. You don't owe this man anything. And that's not a relationship. This is not a healthy relationship. This is not something anyone should be doing to anyone.
Yeah, no,
in
it's
any
very
way,
bad.
shape, or form. It's disgusting. It's literally inhumane on how he handles this. It's disgusting.
My girlfriend said she'd pick her ex over me because I'm a complainer.
Are you literally complaining about it right now, though?
This also comes directly from the OK Storytime subreddit. So me, 27 male, and my girlfriend, 30 female, have been dating a few months. We both have a tendency to move fast, so seeing a red flag and dipping out isn't high on the list of options. By the way, this comes from Coffee and Hate. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit. I'm Carly.
I'm Dakota.
And I'm Keon.
She has this guy friend. We'll call him Luke. My girlfriend and Luke met on the same dating app I met my girlfriend on about 4 months before us. According to girlfriend, they hit it off as friends, tried being romantic, and dated a lot. After 2 months, they stopped being intimate on their own accord. Weeks later, Luke started seeing girl 2, who didn't like that he was intimate with others. So Luke and my girlfriend had the conversation like, hey, we shouldn't do this anymore. Well, yeah, we kind of stopped anyway, so that works, but let's still be friends. Fast forward 2 months. Me and girlfriend meet and hit it off. Eventually, she tells me she only has 2 friends she slept with. This guy and another one from a decade ago. All other exes are completely cut off. My first experiences with Luke were not good. We've never met in person. The first thing I heard was that story above. The second was me, girlfriend, and 2 of her friends who she met through Luke hanging out, and the 3 of them were like, hey, we've all slept with Luke. We should totally FaceTime him right now. And they did it. It made me really uncomfortable, and my girlfriend picked up on it. We talked aside, and I felt a bit better. It wasn't malicious, just inconsiderate. The second exposure I have to him is me and my girlfriend talking about bedroom stuff, and she brings up an idea and was like, yeah, remember when I told you about that? I was like, no, we never talked about that. After some back and forth, she goes, oh, no, I was talking about that with a friend. I said, what friend? Luke. We never did that. It just came up in conversation. This was 1 month into us dating. Shortly before we met, but after they stopped sleeping together. This didn't make me feel good because, 1, while we're talking about that topic, she still thinks about it with him. And 2, that's her friendly conversation with him while he has a girlfriend. The other thing is that girlfriend doesn't FaceTime or video chat, but while at my house, she answered a video call from Luke. I was confused because she's never wanted to video chat with me. Afterwards, she says, I don't like video chatting, but he does and insists we do when we talk. Now, apparently Luke's girlfriend is also uncomfortable with their friendship. So Luke suggested we should all go fishing. I'm very outdoorsy, but never been an avid fisherman. Luke is, and they have so many wonderful memories fishing together. When me and girlfriend tried, it didn't go great. She got frustrated and said, usually there's a guy to help me. So no, I don't want to go fishing with this guy, watch him put on a show, and help my girlfriend while he tries to big wiener me. I requested the first time I met him to be on more neutral grounds. The fishing thing is in a month. If we can't hang out before then, we're not going. I already set a boundary that I'm not cool with her going out of state overnight with him, even with others around. Until Luke brought up that his girlfriend is uncomfortable with their friendship, my girlfriend never told him I wasn't a fan. She didn't want that to be the precedent for me and Luke meeting. Personally, I wouldn't mind if he knew I don't like it. I realize part of this is insecurities. I was burned by literally this exact situation a year ago, and 2 other times in the he's just a friend way. I don't mean to put my past traumas on my girlfriend, and she's usually very kind and validating. But she's made it clear there's no me or him. If it comes to that, she wouldn't be comfortable being in a relationship with someone so controlling of who she's friends with. So, am I the a-hole for not liking this friendship and being so negative about my feelings? If girlfriend finds this, I hope she's not upset. I kept it anonymous and she knows I'm struggling with my perspective. I'm not looking for validation. I'd rather be the person who isn't threatened by others in relationships, but there's a visceral reaction I can't let go of yet. We have some comments. OP in the comment section. I really appreciate everyone's input so far. I really just want to give this point as much room as possible. What if what she's saying is true? What if they really are just friends and the short-lived intimacy shared between them doesn't hold weight in their friendship? I feel it's necessary to add that she possesses a certain form of neurospicy that may affect her ability to have much tact in the way she handles conversation. I give her a lot of leeway with this in that she may just honestly not see the threat in the way I do, and is frustrated because it feels like an honest, genuine connection for her, not something inappropriate. I'm not in the business of ruining good friendships, and also trying really hard not to ruin a good thing we have over this situation. When I feel any sort of way about this topic, I can feel that familiar defensiveness that's coming from my experience with my ex. That said, my suspicion of exes being unfaithful, lying, or malicious have rang true in almost every instance, so maybe I have an awesome radar for this stuff. But I'm leaning more towards anxiety and retroactive jealousy. Someone replies, "This reeks of emotional cheating. You seem to realize this behavior is not normal and always seems to prioritize this other guy. Your gut is exactly right. They might not be sleeping together anymore, but she consistently puts him first when it should be you. That's never okay in a serious relationship. You should be prioritized above him. That's where it is reasonable to draw the line. As her serious boyfriend, you should always be put first when it's a choice between you or her ex. That's how this works. As the boyfriend, you might not be first when compared to her mom. That's husband level-ish, but you definitely rank above an ex who's now a friend. You might rank fairly even with the best friend in her life, maybe a little higher depending on how serious you are, but she's elevating her freaking ex well above that." We have an update, but what
Yeah.
you thinking?
I think that comment was solid. It's like, regardless of how anyone feels, if it's like, no, I don't see that. It's like, if your partner comes to you and is like, not just being like, you need to stop.
Right.
Like, just being like, hey, I've noticed so-and-so, and you seem to act XYZ, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe he is, fully just permanently in the camp of I'll just be friends with her.
Especially when also other half of the the friend ex's girlfriend is also saying the same things. Like, there could be some merit, and you should probably listen when both parties involved are like, hey, this makes both of us a little bit uncomfortable, and you guys are kind of low-key still dating.
Yeah.
Update. I really appreciate all the input from my original post. I know everyone mentioned the obvious red flags. Some of you may roll your eyes, but I haven't given up. I want to play it out to see how much is true. Now the update. Things have come up that raise my eyebrows about compatibility. She was raised with a suck it up buttercup mentality, which has made her pretty harsh. The examples seem small but stack on each other. We were talking about my past work, and I mentioned a job I've told her about twice. She says, "No, we did not. I would have remembered." I said, "I did that for a year and a half." And she said, "Oh, that's why. You only did it for a year and a half, so why would I remember? It's not that serious." It was a very prominent job in my past and still relevant to me. I said, "Well, I worked as a first responder for 3 years. Was that not long enough to be important?" She said, "No, not really. I don't think you've really cut your teeth for 4 or 5 years." That stung because it was one of the most influential jobs I've ever done. I understand her point because she's worked at the same place for a long time and I never have. But I tried telling her it bummed me out she didn't remember these details. She said they're not significant to her because they're too short. I said, "Well, they are to me." And she just said, "Obviously." By the way, you should obviously go listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, search OK Storytime. A little bit more, but what are we feeling? I'm on the breakup because it's not been that long.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be like, you don't have to break up with like a bunch of hard feelings and rough
No.
emotions, and you can just be like,
We're not
I just don't
compatible.
think this is working. I think we should break up, and that would be my suggestion. I don't know. It doesn't read like she's a considerate partner, and I don't think you can just like talk somebody into being that when they're so resistant to you as well? She's not open to anything you're saying.
I really just want her to give a crap about my stuff. I've had many different jobs and trades that made me who I am. And for her to not pay attention because she doesn't think it's important stung. There's another example. Because she comes from no money and my family gained money once I was out of the house, she always compares crap. I was telling her about an important but low-paying job, and she said, must be nice to be able to do that. I told her I paid all my bills and wasn't financially supported at all. But because if I failed, I could fall back on my parents. Then I had privilege she doesn't. She has that same safety net with her family. I don't want to compare trauma or struggles. I recognize her past and journey and understand she had it harder growing up. I've always made sure she's heard and understood, but it kind of makes her a wiener about it.
Dude, just cut your losses
Yeah.
and you'll be able to find another partner.
I don't think we needed to test to see how far it would go. I think as soon as you were like uncomfortable and she was like, I don't really care. It could have been like, okay, bye.
Yeah, you can decide. Regardless of everything that we just read, dude, trust your gut.
Yeah,
It really sounds like you're trying to outsmart your gut, and you're thinking like, well, wait, actually, my gut instinct is coming from a place of like, maybe like trauma or like where this has happened before. So it's like maybe my gut's been overridden, but it's like, now your gut's just really like able to find that behavior.
Yeah.
And your gut is sensing that behavior coming from your girlfriend right now. And whether she's doing it maliciously or unintentionally, after it's been brought to her attention and she goes, I don't care, that's when it's like, okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
We should break up then. I accidentally ignored my best friend's wedding invitation, and it ended our friendship.
That's kind of fair, actually.
Oof.
How do you miss an wedding invite?
Let's find out. My best friend of 20 years unfriended me in a span of 3 hours from an unread message. We are both 30s, female. My friend Brooke and I met in middle school. We had some patches where we were close and distant, as friends for so long typically do. In our late teens, we really got to the point of being stable friends who talked all the time. And by the way, this comes from user Midnight Separate 8794. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit where this story was submitted. I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
And I'm Keon.
We were there for everything for each other. I watched her get married, have a child, and supported her through her divorce. I got to see her discover herself again and raise her child. She was there the instant I needed her when my boyfriend at the time passed away from a car accident. While me, his cousin, and his girlfriend all stood around the kitchen in a haze, Brooke was there supporting us all, trying to make us laugh, making us pizza bagels, and keeping us comfortable. She stayed with me that whole night and made sure I was okay before she left for work in the morning. When she got stood up by a guy, I showed up to her house with flowers and a fake beard, asking her on a date to make her feel better. After she left, when she left a crappy ex and was worried he would do something as she collected her things, I was there with pepper spray, making her laugh the entire time we walked in and out while he stood and watched. I mean, we even have best friend tattoos.
Oh, yikes.
Point being, we have been there for everything in each other's lives. Everyone knew we were best friends above all else. The kind of friendship that made people question our spicy preferences sometimes. LOL. I started noticing changes within the last year and a half. Brooke had been in a pretty unbalanced relationship for about 7 years. She had another kid with him, and between her 2 kids, his twins, and him, she was basically a single mom with 5 kids. The guy never pulled his weight, always had excuses, and I was so relieved for her when she finally left. After the way he dragged her down, I was excited to see her find herself again, for her and for her kids. She started dating and shortly later found someone. She told me a little bit about him, about the lunch dates they met up for, etc. At this point, we had actually worked for the same company and would go on daily walks together. After a few weeks of her seeing him, we went on a walk and she was talking about how she had met him for her lunch break. I had jokingly asked when I would get to meet him. And she said, I don't know yet. But she seemed almost strained when I asked. I followed up with, is that against me or against him? And she laughed again and said, kind of both, and then went on to talk with another coworker we walked with. I thought about this for a few days afterwards. It bothered me a bit, but eventually, I let it go. Maybe they were still too new and she was just nervous. Whatever. A few more weeks go by, and she had invited me to a cookout/party at her house. I was unable to attend, but heard everyone was there. Coworkers, friends, family, and her new man. I thought we would go out for dinner and drinks at some point, and I would just meet him eventually. Months went by. I tried to set up lunch and dinner dates with or without the new guy just to even hang out with her. I've always tried to work around her schedule, knowing she has kids, so it never bothered me when she couldn't commit. One night, Brooke asked about meeting up for some food and drinks at a local little bar. We go out, and I saw an old friend of mine, Ray. I shoulder-checked him as a joke, and his newest bimbo of a girlfriend seemed to take offense to that. She told me, "Girl, don't do that." I laughed and went to sit back down. Bimbo glared me down for a while until she made Ray leave with her. Since we had a few drinks in us, Brooke and I, of course, sat down and made jokes about how if Bimbo had approached me, that we could have taken her, and I got plenty of pent-up anger in the tank. Just saying that kind of stuff. Obviously, nothing happened. It was all just fun and jokes. At some point, she had texted her new boyfriend about the situation, and she told me his response was, "Don't get dragged into anything like that." In that moment, I had a gut feeling of where things would go from there. I set my thoughts aside, and we had a good night just hanging out. That was back in March. In April, I saw Brooke tagged in a Facebook post saying that this guy had proposed, and she said yes. I didn't think they'd been together that long, but when I looked, I realized he had proposed on their 1-year anniversary. They had been together a year, and I never met him once. Feeling mildly petty, I didn't react to the post and moved on. A few days after her engagement, she sent a message to the group chat of her, myself, and another friend, Levi, around 9:30 a.m. I had just gotten a new job. I'm work from home and on camera during class, so I cannot check my phone much. I swiped away the notification without checking it. 3 hours later, she questioned why Levi and I had not responded, with no comment. Again, I swiped away. Shortly after, I was on a break when another message came through stating, "Never mind. I'd rather spend the time with the people that like to see me happy. Consider yourselves off the hook." She had immediately left the group chat and unfriended me on Facebook. Turns out the first message I swiped away was an invite with details of her marriage this coming October. I was so shocked that she hadn't even given us a chance to talk about things. My new job requires my focus. I sent Levi a message asking how he felt about it, and he said he didn't have time to deal with it. His boss is fighting cancer again, and he essentially runs his shop for him. So he was also busy handling things on his end at his job. So I tried talking to other people about this because this whole situation ended up bothering me a lot. No one really offered anything other than "I can't believe that" or "That's ridiculous," but just left it at that. This has been festering in me for weeks. Once I started to look back on things, I remembered how she stopped inviting me on walks at work. She almost never responded when I tried to set up hangouts with her and Levi, and when we still worked together, she moved to a different building in the company and came back to the main one for a day-long meeting. She stopped and chatted to someone who was 3 desks away from me, but didn't even acknowledge me. I remembered her not knowing when I'd met this guy, and then I remembered the night at the bar. I knew from his response that a man I had never met was judging me, and that was all it took to plant a seed of doubt in her against me. I haven't spoken to her since she left the group chat. In reality, not much has changed. She was barely talking to me as it was, so now I just get a few less memes or funny videos throughout the day. I'm usually an "it is what it is" kind of person, and didn't want to let this bother me, but it has been. Since I have no one to talk to about it, I ended up crying to myself a few times over it. This ended up bothering me more, knowing that she probably hasn't had a second thought about me since. I had to think that deep down, I'm still grieving the loss of a friendship. Just writing the few memories I did for this post made me tear up. This is someone I trusted with everything I had. someone that was supposed to always be my side. And by the way, the full episodes with stories just like this one will always be at your side as long as you have Spotify or iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast platform. Just search OK Storytime and you can listen to the full archive. It's over 72 days long. It sucks that your friend sort of quit your friendship without you realizing it. But like, you know,
yeah, I mean, it's gonna suck still, but she gave up on you so easily.
yeah.
He planted like one little seed of, I mean, he could have been saying a lot more.
Yeah,
about
I'm
you,
sure he
but-
was. But her response is sending you a text during business hours and then being like 3 hours, too long. Sorry, so too bad, so sad. Blocking you on everything and never talking to you again. It's insane. Part of me wanted to have a mature sit-down talk with her. Another part of me wanted to yell and argue. Like, are we really about to throw out 20 years of friendship for what? Has she outgrown me, or does she feel I'm too immature? It's been baffling me for weeks. I've felt angry and sad, but I'm to the point that I'm just letting it go now. If you made it this far, thanks for hearing me out. I'm not even sure what I'm looking for with this post. Probably just closure of some kind.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's okay to move on from this. You did nothing wrong. You'll always have the memories. When it's time to move on, you can have more good times with different people. Maybe I'm just looking for advice or just needing to vent, I guess, but that is the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope whatever advice you take away from this is positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
then it's not your fault.
she quit your friendship because of her now husband.
And
Yeah.
you know what? Funny enough, I told him, you know what? You just take that energy that you were putting into them, that was very positive, put it to something that you love, some people that you love, anything that you find happy, put that energy into that and distract yourself. Because I know it's a friend breakup.
Yeah.
Friend breakups suck,
Hurts just like
does.
a relationship one.
if not more. You
Yeah.
know?
It certainly can. 20 years.